Hey, it's Bob out here at Serenity Hill. Sorry about that, slipped on some mud. It's crazy to have mud. It's cold out here. The Weather Channel says that it's 28 degrees and feels like 18. And I think that's a little generous. Out trying to get a little bit done today before I just get too cold. 2 pairs of socks, long johns, flannel shirt, t-shirt, gloves, my Elmer Fudd hat. Nothing coordinates, but I'm trying to stay warm. I started out trying to strip some bark off a log, but it's awful cold doing that because right now they're on the ground. And so what I was doing is sitting on it and pulling towards me. Well, that thing's awful cold to be sitting on. And just trying to do some cleanup. I think in a little bit here, I'm going to go up on the floor there. I've got a cedar log and I got some of that cherry still that I'm going to cut me some thin slices off of. I've got enough material to make a few more clocks. See if I can sell some more clocks. And that'll give me something to work on when it's a little inside, when it's this cold like this. Fingers don't work real well. And even working inside, since it's not heated, I mean, it's warmer than outside, but I still need to be a little bit warmer. Because you can't use glue and epoxy and things like that when it's freezing. And most of the glue, in fact, tells you it really needs to be up above 46 or 47 degrees. So we've had some interesting conversations about where we're going to go with things here. You know, about a year and a half ago, I lost a real good paying job due to downsizing and changes in the business. So we've been having to adjust to that. Got unemployment for a while and looked for something else. But the only thing I could really find was something where I'd be working 60 to 80 hours a week and interfering with other things we got going. Things that I could find that were going to let me work a schedule where I could actually work on the house and do things. I would make about what I pull on my Social Security, in a couple cases even less. So I thought, I'll just do my Social Security. So, it's been some adjustment getting used to that drop in income. And we didn't do as good a job adjusting to that as we had hoped. So we're having to kind of readjust and make some changes in plans. But sometimes you have to have those conversations and take a look at how you're going to do things and come up with a different plan. If what you're doing isn't working, then you've got to be willing to take a look at that and say, you know what, that's not working. Let's try something different, because it makes no sense to keep doing something that's not working. So that's where we are. One of the things that I've decided I'm going to do is, you see, I got my old 79 C10 heavy half truck back here. That was my project truck. I've been working on that thing off and on. I bought it like 5 years ago. And the motor went bad in it. And instead of replacing the motor, I just rebuilt it, turned it from a 350 to a 383, did some other performance stuff on it, aluminum heads, roller tip stainless steel rockers, headers, ceramic coated headers. Let's see what else. Oh, all new, new power steering pump, new alternator, all chromed and fancy. And of course, doing all that, and going with the headers, they don't work with your stock air conditioner mount. So a universal air conditioner mount, which does not, universal means that it won't fit anything. So still some modification to go on that. some other things. I mean, it'll run. I started up, it'll run. It needs to be tuned up. It's got some things I got to finish up on it. But you see this back here? This back here is the most important thing. And right back in here where the garden is going to be, that's another important thing. These are important to what we're going to do long term. And you know, I've got this 2017 Chevy four-wheel drive pickup that does everything I want and then some. So I've decided that the old project truck's going to have to go. I mean, I haven't touched it and I haven't done anything on it in other than put the hood on it and clean stuff up on it so I could get it on the trailer to bring it out here. That's the last that I've touched it in probably 2.5 years, because I've just been so busy out here doing things that I haven't worked on it. So I decided I'm going to sell that. And Deb says, well, what are you going to do for a project? I said, I got all kinds of projects out here. I got plenty to do. That's not a problem, coming up with projects. And if I ever get to the point where I want another vehicle to tinker on, well, a few years ago I had a 1987 BMW 325i convertible, 5-speed, red, black interior, black top, beautiful car. That was my daily driver car for about 7 years. And one day it sprung a fuel leak and it caught fire. And I literally, as I was waiting for the fire department to come to put the fire out, sat there on the curb waiting for them, and I actually cried, because that's the only vehicle I've ever owned that I felt emotionally attached to. So I'll get rid of this old truck, which it took me a long time to come to that, because I love these old square body Chevy pickups. They're beautiful trucks. They're just great. But I'll get rid of it. And when I get some point down the road to where I decide, you know, I like another project vehicle, I'll look for me a mid-80s BMW 325i convertible and go tooling around in that. Old man with the gray hair flying in the breeze in his convertible. Got to be a 5-speed though. Got to be a 5-speed. So yeah, it's cold. Especially to be standing around, but even working, you know, the hands don't want to work real well sometimes. You guys know how that is. You have to work out in the cold too. I'm not alone in this. So at any rate, that's where we are. We're having to make some little changes in plans, little adjustments. And sometimes those conversations that you have to have with your significant other are not real easy to have, because you know, I'm not in this on my own. It is a team effort, and so, you know, things like this don't affect just me. They affect her as well. So she's got to be involved in those conversations, and like I said, you just have to have those hard conversations sometimes and make changes in your plans. But the goal is still the same: get this house built, get in the house, get a garden built, garden put in tomorrow, while Deb's here to keep an eye and to kind of spot for me and help me out. It's going to be a little bit warmer. I'm going to finally tomorrow get rid of that, cut down that widowmaker tree. Something I don't want to do when I'm out here by myself, because I don't want to make Deb a widow. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. And today I'm going to finish out the day by cutting some blanks to make clocks out of, so that I have something to work on inside, you know, in a covered area, a warmer area, on some of these cold days. We get several more of them coming up. So next week's going to be a full week. Monday I'm going out cutting down some more trees. probably at least 2 days next week, I'll be going out cutting down trees. And then when the weather warms up a little bit, well, I'll be running the pressure washer like crazy, knocking bark off of them. I've got my log. I don't think I've told you guys about that, but I'll head back out there. And I guess I really should write a little script for myself and get me one of those teleprompters so I can keep my thoughts straight, because sometimes they wander. Ever feel like your thoughts derailed? Either that or that train left the station and you weren't on it. At any rate, what I've done is out here I've got my I think I'd shown you guys, I had that tree with a root rod on it. Get this thing on a gimbal, it keeps turning back towards me. Had this a tree with a root rod on it, and what I've done is I've cut that in half. Get that adjusted back. I took my chainsaw and I split it down the middle. All right, so what I did with that tree with the root rod, you can see part of it there, and the other half of it here. That one's already stripped. I got the bark stripped off that one, that side of it. This side I don't. But I got that split in half. Used my chainsaw to do that. I initially was going to try using splitting wedges, but that was way too much work. So I cheated. I used the chainsaw, cut it in half, and then I'm cleaning it, getting the bark peeled off of it, cleaning it up, and I'm going to use that inside. After I get it cleaned up, use that inside to as columns, and I use it with the root end facing up, and then put a little accent light in there. And then this log that you see right here in the middle, a nice great big long, that thing's straight. It's I would say it's a good 30 feet before you get to the first branches up at the top. It's been down for about a year. It's been laying on the ground, but it's still good and solid. I'm going to cut that into 10-foot logs and take that to the sawmill and get it cut into boards. And this log right here and this tree right here that's dead that needs to come down, those will be used to make kitchen cabinet framework for kitchen cabinets, and probably for a king-size bed platform. And I've got several more trees. I got more trees over in here in the garden area that I got to cut down. I'll do the same with them. I get them sliced up for me. I could use my Alaska mill for it, but if you've got a friend with a sawmill that you can use, why not, right? All right, so here I am out in the woods here. Over the weekend, I managed to get my leaning tree, and the one that fell against cut down. You can see this is the one that it was broken off. It's good and solid, believe it or not, below where it broke off, which is I guess why it was standing. So I did manage to get two good size 10-foot long logs out of it that I'll get hauled out of the woods here, and I'll take those to the sawmill and get cut into board. You can see the end of it here where it broke. It was just rotten. There was a branch that broke off, and water got into that and caused the heartwood to rot, decay, and that's why when this other tree over here, you can see it at an angle. I cut it so that it fell, but it was still alive, but it partially uprooted. It's kind of hard to see it now, but it partially uprooted and fell against the other tree. This is the top part that fell off. Again, you can see where that heartwood is just rotted away. In fact, and so I got two good sized logs, 10-foot long, out of this that I'll take to the sawmill and get cut up into some logs. I've got some smaller pieces I'll probably be able to deal with on my table saw to get them squared up and cut down into some smaller boards. But I will use as much of this as I can for making things. Whatever's too small to go to the sawmill, I'll use my Alaska mill or my table saw to make something useful out of them. And instead of letting this stuff go to waste, I have this big pile here. My plan is to put in some raised beds or some hugelkultur mounds out here. As you can see, I've got some sun. Here it is around noon, and I've got sun coming down right in this area. It gets a lot of sun most of the day, but does get a little shade. So I think this will be probably my best spot for a garden. So that's what I'm working on this winter. I've got 2 more good-sized trees that I'll be cutting down for the garden area. And these things are, man, they're beautiful, nice and straight and tall. And they will provide some good lumber for me that I'll be able to use to put in the house. So that's an advantage. Instead of just burning this stuff, I'll be able to use it. And then lots of other little stuff that I'll have to cut out of here. What I'll be doing with my my beds, whether they be raised bed or hugelkultur beds, is all this brush that you see laying around here. Instead of burning brush and logs, what I will do, if I'm able to do the hugelkultur beds, I'll clear the leaves out of the way, and I'll dig up that top several inches it's fertile down to the sandy clay stuff. I'll set that aside, and then I'll just arrange some big logs, some smaller branches and the like, and put a combination of that dirt and some of my composted leaves that I got my compost pile over here on top of, and then I'll see if I can get some topsoil to put on top of that and build those beds up. The advantage of that is they're off the ground, and I'm not having to work at ground level. I'm working a little higher. The way the ground slopes here, this is not at the top of the hill, so the water slopes this way and runs down this way. So back here below the garden, I'll take some of this soil that's left over, big pile of it from the septic install, and I'll use that to build a swale back here behind me, so that it keeps the water from flowing. It slows down the water flow down the hill. What that'll do for me is that'll keep more water up in the garden area and give it a chance, instead of running down the hill, to soak in the ground, and I'll have to do less watering. Also, as I get my the gutter system on the roof on the house, what I'll be doing is I will run my outlet pipe over so it comes out back here above the garden, so that all that water will come over in the area where the garden is and let it soak in and store it that way. If I do raised beds instead of hugelkultur beds, I will still go ahead and in the bottoms of those raised beds, instead of dirt all the way down, in the bottoms of those raised beds is where this stuff will go. All the logs and brush and the like. and then put the dirt on top of it. And yes, that will eventually decay. Um, and I'll be using stuff that's been stacked around for a while that's already started to decay and already started to soften up. So it won't be fresh stuff that'll take all the nitrogen out of the soil. But that way, I can use that. It'll absorb moisture and slowly release the moisture. Over time, it'll decompose. Will my my bed collapse a little? Possibly a little bit, but I've got all these leaves around here, and what we do instead of burning them is we rake them up, and I've got a pile that we put them on to let those naturally break down and compost. We throw some other household stuff in there, toss it every once in a while. So I'm composting those leaves, and they're turning into soil. So I'll be putting that, and I've got a friend who's got a raises cattle and hogs. I'll be able to get some seasoned manure from him. All I want, because he's got plenty of it that I can use to add in there to enrich it. So that's the plan. So, you know, all this stuff, you look around and you see all these piles of brush and you think, oh, that has to be burned or whatever. But you know, there's lots of ways that nature can use that, and that you can use that in ways that are more friendly instead of just burning it, putting carbon in the air, burning it and wasting it. I can use this to nurture me instead, which I think is a pretty cool thing. So what I'm doing here is, this is the door latch and handle for my front door. And if I can get this right. There we go. And they normally, you see how narrow that is. And of course this is the latch. Normally, this is set up for a door that can go out to a maximum of a little over 2 inches, about 2 1/4 inches or so. And at that, it's kind of spread out a little, but my door is 3 1/4 inches thick, so this is not going to work. And it's extremely difficult to find door latches, doorknobs for, you know, door latch sets for something that thick. So what I'm having to do is extend this so it can accommodate a door that's 3 1/4 inches long, or 3 1/4 inches thick. So in order to do that, I've got some aluminum pieces here. These are drilled and tapped. I had to flatten the end a bit to fit in here. These are drilled and tapped with 8/32 screws, and they will, if I can hold this all together. I got 2 of these, and what they do is they provide the spacing that I need to be able to make my door latch mechanism big enough to fit. So now this will be big enough, thick enough, you know, be opened up enough that it'll fit in the door. But now the problem is this little square latch here, that's what fits in the hole here, so that as you turn this latch on the inside, it makes the striker go in and out. So I have to extend this square tube, and it has to be a tube because inside is the mechanism that ties in to this little knob that lets you lock the door from the inside without having the key. And it locks it, turn it this way, now it unlocks, so it moves. So for that purpose, I had to make another little piece here that will then be, I got some small little screws or 3mm nuts and bolts that will go in here to extend this piece so that it's long enough to fit up in here to allow the door to latch properly. And then the next step is I couldn't find some square tubing, so I got some round tubing, and I'll have to squash the end to fit here and then make it squared off so it fits down inside here to be able to make my door move. So it seems like you do stuff custom, do it yourself, you end up having to get imaginative and get creative and make some things work out. So that's what I'm going to be working on as long as I can. It's cold out here. My fingers are cold. We'll see how long that lasts. So that's what I'm working on today. Once I get that done, now they do make, for the deadbolt, they actually make a kit for that. So I will actually be able to buy a little kit, and basically it seems like a rip-off, and I may or I may not buy it, the kit, because basically all it is long bolts. So I think what I'll do with that, this is deep enough here, this is threaded, so I think what I will probably do here is I've got some more of this rod. It came in a 4-foot section, so I got some more of it. So I think instead of spending $15 for a kit that's basically just long screws, is what I will do is there are 1024 screws, so I will make me a couple pieces of this aluminum rod, drill and tap them for a 1024, put me a 1024 screw in here, take the head off of a 1024 bolt, run part of it down in here, the other end up here, thread my metal piece on to extend it, and then I'll be able to go ahead and use the screws that came with it to fasten that. Now the striker will fit over here, and the latch go in and out, so it'll still work out. The only issue is, like I said, I will have to extend this piece here in order for it to tie into the deadbolt. Otherwise, I won't be able to unlock it from the inside. So, always something. Always something. But I'll get her did. Well, I got my I got the tube made to fit over this. Squared the end off. Put some ears on this end to fit in the door handle. But problem I've got is I've got to fasten this little jewel to this, and the smallest screws I've got are 3 millimeter, and this is just about 4 millimeters wide, and that's just too big and make it too thin. So I'm gonna have to order some 1 millimeter screws, and of course I'll have to have 1 millimeter bit and a little tap. I probably just use screws and a nut on the other side, but at any rate, I gotta have a 1 millimeter screw so that I have some meat in this little shaft here. So I'm kind of at a standstill on that, because trying to find things like that at a place that doesn't have if I had like a model railroad shop or something like that, I may stop tomorrow at Hobby Lobby and see if they've got some bits that small in their jewelry making section. That's about the only place I can think to find them. So at any rate, I'm kind of at a stopping point there. Happens all the time when you're doing something different. It's cold out here. Sun is nice and bright, but it's cold and windy, so I'll do a few more things here. Probably clean up some of my mess. I've got quite a mess out here. I'm bad about that, making a mess, and I got to work on becoming better organized and leave fewer messes, because then I'm always having to look for things. So I'll clean up some of my mess, and then I think I'll go in the garage. I've got 5 clock blanks cut and sanded, ready to make into clocks. And I've got enough materials, clock mechanism and hands, numbers, and the like, to make 5 more clocks. So I think I'll go inside where it's warmer and get those made so I can get them listed, see if I can sell some more clocks. So if any of you guys want them, hey, just message me and I'll make arrangements. I'm not bashful about that. All right, this is Bob here at Serenity Hill. Hope you're having a good day. Keep warm, and we will check back with you in a few days and let you know how things are going. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Thank you very much for your support and for the comments. I really appreciate it. It makes me feel pretty good to know you guys are watching and enjoying. So until later, this is Bob signing out.